Most people think courage is loud. They think it's dramatic speeches and grand gestures. But real courage? Real courage is a trembling hand making a desperate signal across a diner counter, hoping anyone will remember what it means. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from. And if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. Sarah Martinez had exactly 12 seconds to decide between staying silent or trusting a complete stranger with her life. What she didn't know was that the man watching her had made a promise 15 years ago. A promise that was about to change everything. And if you're new here, hit that subscribe button. This channel is about stories that restore your faith in humanity. Stories about ordinary people who refuse to look away when someone needs help. Sarah Martinez, 28 years old, single mother, third shift waitress. If you've ever worked a job where you're invisible, where people look through you instead of at you, then you know Sarah. She's the kind of woman who remembers your coffee order after meeting you once, who asks about your family, your troubles, your dreams. In a world that moves too fast, Sarah makes people feel seen. Emma, her 6-year-old daughter, bright, curious, completely unaware that her mother has been living in fear for the past 8 months. That's how long ago Sarah's ex-boyfriend found her new address. Shots of Sarah double-checking locks, peering through curtains, the subtle signs of someone living in constant vigilance. Marcus Torres, not Emma's father Sarah, was smart enough to keep that information from him, but a man who decided that dating Sarah for 3 months meant he owned her. That her saying no was just a negotiating position. 2 restraining orders. 3 different apartments. 4 times he found her anyway. The legal system kept telling her the same thing. We can't help until he actually hurts you. As if the fear wasn't already killing her slowly. Sarah worked the overnight shift at Murphy's Diner on Route 19. 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., serving coffee to truckers and insomniacs and people running from their own demons. It wasn't much, but it was hers. And for 8 months, it had been safe. Robert Bull Kowalski, 53 years old, Army veteran, motorcycle club member for 26 years. Most people see the leather vest, the patches, the gray beard, and they make their assumptions. They see danger. They see trouble. They cross the street. What they don't see is a man who spent the last 15 years keeping a promise to his dead brother-in-law. Bull comes to Murphy's every Thursday night. Same booth, same order, black coffee, and whatever pie they have left. He doesn't talk much, tips well, never causes trouble. He's just a quiet regular in a world full of noise. 15 years ago, Bull's brother-in-law, Danny Martinez, Sarah's older brother, died in a motorcycle accident. Bull was riding behind him when a drunk driver ran a red light. Danny pushed Bull out of the way and took the impact himself. At Danny's funeral, Bull made a promise to Danny's mother, Maria Martinez. He'd look after the family, keep an eye on Danny's little sister, Sarah. Make sure she was safe, protected, never alone. Bull had lost track of Sarah after her mother died 3 years ago. Tried to find her, but she'd moved, changed her name after the divorce, disappeared into the kind of life that leaves no digital footprints. He'd been looking for her ever since, honoring a promise to a dead man. Until tonight, when a text from his club brother changed everything. Found her. Murphy's Diner on 19. She's in trouble. Sarah had exactly 1 customer at 2:30 a.m. A quiet man in the corner booth who'd been nothing but polite. But her nerves were screaming because of what she'd seen in the parking lot 20 minutes earlier. Marcus's car. She'd memorized that license plate, that silhouette. He'd been following her for 2 days now, just outside the legal limits of the restraining order, close enough to let her know he was there, far enough to avoid arrest. The pattern was always the same. Marcus would stalk her for days, let the fear build, let the isolation sink in. Then he'd make his move when she was most vulnerable. Usually, when she was alone. The text had started an hour ago. Photos of Emma at daycare. Photos of Sarah's apartment building. Messages that made it clear Marcus knew exactly where to find everyone she cared about. Cute kid. Be ashamed if something happened while you're at work. I'm done playing games, Sarah. We need to talk. Tonight. You can keep ignoring me, but I'll keep getting closer to what matters to you. Sarah's hands trembling as she sets down her phone. looking around the empty diner with growing panic. The police wouldn't help. They'd made that clear. Marcus was too smart, too careful. Never quite crossed the line into actionable threats. Always maintained plausible deniability. Sarah moving through her routine mechanically, but her eyes keep darting to the windows, to the phone, to the exit. Sarah realized with sickening clarity that tonight was different. Marcus wasn't just watching anymore. The texts, the photos, the positioning of his car, this was endgame. He was going to force a confrontation, and she had nowhere to run. Car doors slamming outside. Footsteps on gravel. Sarah's head snapping toward the sound. Then she heard the car door slam, and she knew her time had run out. The diner door opens with its cheerful chime. Marcus Torres enters, tall, well-dressed, carrying himself with the confidence of someone who believes he owns every room he enters. Marcus Torres looked like a success story. Clean-shaven, expensive clothes, charming smile. The kind of man who makes a good first impression, who knows how to work a room. Police, officers liked him. Judges found him credible. That was the problem. Marcus scanning the diner, his smile widening when he sees only one other customer, Bull, in the corner booth. Marcus had counted on this. Late night, isolated location, minimal witnesses. Just Sarah and some random customer who wouldn't get involved. Perfect conditions to have the conversation he'd been planning. Bull's eyes tracking Marcus as he approaches the counter. Something about the man's body language, the way he's focused on Sarah, sets off Bull's internal alarms. Bull didn't know who Marcus was, but 26 years in a motorcycle club and 2 tours in Afghanistan had taught him to read predators. This wasn't a customer. This was trouble. Sarah behind the counter, forcing her professional smile as Marcus approaches. But her eyes are wide with fear. "Hello, Sarah. You look good. Tired, but good." What do you want, Marcus? I told you to leave me alone." Leaning against the rage and just to talk. Is that so unreasonable? We dated for 3 months. I think I deserve a conversation. Bull's attention sharpening, his body language shifting subtly to a more alert posture. Sarah tried to maintain distance, tried to keep the counter between them, but Marcus moved with practiced ease, crowding her space, using his height and presence to make her feel small. Marcus pulling out his phone, showing Sarah photos of Emma at daycare. Emma's gotten so big. Beautiful kid. Takes after her mom. Sarah's face going white with terror. Her hands starting to shake visibly. Voice barely a whisper. "Don't. Please don't." "Don't what? Don't care about the people you care about? Don't notice that cute little daycare she goes to? The one with the broken security camera?" Bull standing slowly from his booth, moving closer to the counter with deliberate casualness. That's when Sarah remembered something her brother Danny had taught her before he died. Signal he'd shown her when she was 16. Made her practice until it was automatic. Flashback. Young Sarah with her brother Danny, both laughing as he shows her the hand signal. 3 fingers up, 2 down, thumb across your palm. SOS, but in sign language. If you're ever in real trouble, Sarah, if someone's really going to hurt you, you make this sign where bikers can see it. Any real biker will know what it means. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time. So if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. Back to present. Sarah looking at Bull, recognizing the leather vest, the patches, the bearing of someone from her brother's world. Sarah had never used the signal. Never needed to. But looking at Marcus, seeing the photos of Emma, knowing what was coming next, she realized this was exactly what Danny had been preparing her for. Sarah catching Bull's eye as she reaches for the coffee pot. Her hand forming, the signal 3 fingers up, 2 down, thumb across palm, holding it just long enough for him to see. The signal lasted maybe 3 seconds, but it changed everything. Bull's coffee cup freezing halfway to his lips, his entire body going rigid with recognition. Bull stared at Sarah's hand, then her face, and something clicked into place behind his eyes. The features, the bone structure, the way she held herself when she was scared. Close-up of Bull's face as realization dawns. Jesus Christ, Danny's little sister. 15 years of searching. 15 years of wondering what happened to the girl he'd promised to protect. And she'd been here all along, serving him coffee every Thursday night, and he'd never recognized her. Bull standing slowly, methodically, every movement deliberate and controlled. Bull didn't make a scene, didn't rush over, didn't draw attention to what he'd seen. He simply walked to the counter like any customer might, pulled out a 20 for his $3 coffee, and set it down with absolute calm. Quietly, to Sarah, "I'll be right back." Bull walking toward the exit with measured steps. Marcus barely glancing at him, too focused on intimidating Sarah to pay attention to anyone else. Outside in the parking lot, Bull pulled out his phone and made the call that would change Sarah's night forever. Not to the police, they'd already failed her. To his brothers. Bull on his phone, rain still falling, his voice carrying the authority of a man who'd led men into combat. "This is Bull. I need everyone at Murphy's Diner on Route 19. Right now." Danny Martinez's sister is in trouble, and she used the signal. Cut to various locations. Phones ringing in bedrooms, garages, workshops. Men answering with immediate alertness. The club had 17 active members within a 30-mile radius. Every single one of them knew about Danny Martinez. Every single one of them had been told about his sister, about the promise Bull had made. Quick montage. Motorcycle engines starting. Leather vests being pulled on. Phones buzzing with the address. They didn't ask questions. Didn't need explanations. A brother's sister had called for help, and that was enough. They were coming. Back inside the diner. Marcus growing more aggressive, leaning further over the counter. "You think you can just ignore me forever? Think you can keep my daughter from me? She's not your daughter. You know she's not." Voice dropping to a threatening whisper. "DNA doesn't matter, Sarah. What matters is what I can prove in court. What I can make happen." Sarah backing away, running out of space, running out of options. Marcus had done his research. He'd found holes in Sarah's custody documentation, technicalities he could exploit, ways to insert himself into Emma's life legally, whether Sarah wanted it or not. The rumble of motorcycle engines beginning in the distance, barely audible at first. Then Sarah heard it. Low, distant, but growing steadily louder. The sound of multiple motorcycles approaching at high speed. Marcus pausing mid-sentence, his head turning toward the window as the sound grows unmistakable. What the hell is that? The sound building to a thunder that rattles the diner windows. Headlights flooding the parking lot from multiple directions. 17 motorcycles arrived within 8 minutes of Bull's call. They didn't roar in like some movie gang. They moved with military precision, surrounding the diner, blocking every exit, creating a perimeter that left no doubt about their intentions. Aerial shot of the diner surrounded by motorcycles, their riders dismounting in coordinated silence. Marcus pressed his face to the window, watching men in leather emerge from the rain like something out of his worst nightmare. These weren't random bikers. This was organized. This was deliberate. Bull walking back into the diner, followed by 3 other men. Their presence, instantly changing the atmosphere. Bull entered first, followed by Tank, the club president, a man who'd earned his nickname by surviving an IED blast in Iraq. Behind him came Ghost, the club's sergeant-at-arms, and Preacher, whose gentle demeanor hid a background in special forces. The men positioning themselves strategically around the diner, cutting off Marcus's access to both exits. They didn't threaten Marcus, didn't raise their voices, didn't need to. Their simple presence, 4 large men in leather who moved with the confidence of people who'd faced real danger, was more intimidating than any verbal threat could be. Bull approaching the counter where Marcus still stands, trying to process what's happening. Calmly, to Marcus, "You need to leave," attempting to regain control. "Who the hell are you? This is a private conversation. You can't just..." Interrupting. "I can. I am. You're done here." Tank stepping forward, his massive frame casting a shadow over. "Marcus. Son, you've got about 10 seconds to walk out that door before this situation gets complicated." Marcus tried to bluff, tried to assert his authority, tried to claim he had every right to be there. But standing in a room with 4 combat veterans who'd responded to a distress call, his usual tactics felt suddenly inadequate. Marcus, looking around the diner, realizing he's completely outnumbered and outmatched. To Sarah, this isn't over. You can't hide behind these thugs forever. Ghost moving closer, his voice carrying quiet menace. Actually, she can. See, we know who you are now, Marcus Torres. We know where you live, where you work, what kind of car you drive. And we'll be watching. Preacher pulling out his phone, showing Marcus photos that make his face go pale. 17 of us took pictures of your license plate tonight. 17 witnesses to you violating a restraining order. That's enough evidence to put you in jail. But we're feeling generous. Marcus backing toward the door, his confidence crumbling with each word. These men had done their homework in the 8 minutes it took them to arrive. They'd run his plates, pulled his record, documented his violations. They were offering him a choice, but the terms were non-negotiable. Bull stepping closer to Marcus, his voice carrying the weight of absolute authority. You leave Sarah and her daughter alone, permanently. You move on with your life, and we pretend this never happened. Or, Bull gesturing toward the windows, where the silhouettes of 13 more bikers are visible. We make sure every cop, every judge, every person in this county knows exactly what you are. Your choice. Marcus leaving without another word, his car speeding away into the night. The sound of his engine fading until only the idle of motorcycles remains. Marcus Torres drove straight home, packed a bag, and was out of state by sunrise. He never contacted Sarah again. Never came near Emma. Some battles you win through violence. Others you win by simply being more committed than your opponent. Inside the diner, Sarah collapsed onto a stool behind the counter, the adrenaline finally giving way to relief and exhaustion. Sarah sat in her empty diner, surrounded by men she didn't know but who'd risked everything to protect her. She wanted to thank them, to explain how much this meant, but the words wouldn't come. Bull approaching Sarah slowly, respectfully, pulling out a worn photograph. Sarah Martinez, Danny's little sister. Close-up of the photograph. A younger Bull and Danny in military gear, arms around each other's shoulders, both grinning at the camera. Bull showed her the photograph, and Sarah's world shifted. The quiet customer who'd been coming to her diner every Thursday night wasn't random. He was family, her brother's family. Sarah staring at the photo, recognition dawning. You knew Danny. He saved my life. In Afghanistan, and again here. When we got back, I promised your mother I'd look after you, but I lost track after she died. Been looking for you ever since. Tank and the other bikers giving them space, but remaining close enough to provide support. Bull explained the promise he'd made 15 years ago. How he'd been searching for her, checking databases, following leads, trying to honor his commitment to a dead brother and a grieving mother. Sarah wiping tears from her eyes as understanding floods through her. Every Thursday night. You've been here every Thursday night for 3 years. Since you started working here. I didn't recognize you. You were 16 when I last saw you. I'm sorry, Sarah. I should have known. The emotional weight of the moment settling over the diner. 17 men had dropped everything at 2:30 inches the morning to protect a woman they'd never met. Honoring a promise to a brother who died 15 years ago. That's what Brotherhood actually looks like. The bikers beginning to file out, each stopping to nod respectfully to Sarah or squeeze Bull's shoulder. They didn't stay for thanks, didn't expect recognition. They'd done what needed doing, and now they were returning to their lives. But Sarah wasn't alone anymore. Bull pulling out his phone, showing Sarah contact information. My number, Tank's number, ghosts, preachers, every single man who was here tonight. You call if you need anything, day or night. We're your family now. Sarah, looking at the list of names and numbers, overwhelmed by the sudden expansion of her support network. Sarah stared at the phone, at the list of men who'd just become her guardians. People she could call if the darkness closed in again. People who'd promised her dead brother they'd protect her, and who'd just proven that promises still meant something. Bull heading toward the door, then turning back one last time. Danny would be proud of you, Sarah. You survived. You protected Emma. You did everything right. Sarah wiping tears, finding her voice at last. Thank you. Not just for tonight. For keeping your promise. smiling for the first time. Thank you for remembering the signal. 6 months later, Sarah at Murphy's Diner during a day's shift. Sunlight streaming through the windows. The atmosphere completely different, warm, safe, comfortable. 6 months later, Sarah still works at Murphy's Diner. But everything has changed. The fear is gone. The constant vigilance has faded. She sleeps through the night now. Bull's still sitting in his corner booth every Thursday. But now they talk. He knows her name. She knows his story. And the barrier between them has dissolved. Bull still comes for coffee every Thursday night. But now it's a family visit. He's Uncle Bull to Emma, who loves hearing stories about her Uncle Danny and the brave things he did. Emma playing in the diner after school, coloring at Bull's booth while Sarah works. Emma has 17 honorary uncles now, scattered across 3 counties, each one ready to move mountains if she ever needs them. She's learning that family isn't just blood, it's choice, commitment, promises kept across decades. Sarah behind the counter, relaxed and genuinely smiling as she serves customers. Sarah has learned something powerful about survival. Sometimes the help you need comes from unexpected places. Sometimes the people you've dismissed or feared are the ones willing to stand in the gap when everything falls apart. Final shot. The diner at night, warm lights spilling from the windows, motorcycles parked outside, the image of safety and community. The signal Danny taught his sister saved more than just her life that night. It restored her faith in the idea that protection exists, that promises matter, that brotherhood is real. Marcus Torres never returned to the county. The restraining order became unnecessary because the network of protection made it irrelevant. Sometimes justice doesn't happen in courtrooms. Sometimes it happens in diner parking lots at 3 a.m. when good people decide they've seen enough. Text overlay. If you believe in keeping promises, hit subscribe. Every subscription supports stories about real courage, real protection, real brotherhood. If this story moved you, don't just watch act. Subscribe to support content that matters. Share this with someone who needs to know they're not as alone as they think. Comment Brotherhood if you believe in the kind of loyalty that crosses decades and honors the dead by protecting the living. And if you've ever felt trapped, isolated, helpless, know this. There are people willing to stand up, communities that protect their own, promises that still get kept. You deserve to be safe. You deserve to be believed. You deserve a brotherhood. Final frame, subscribe button, and notification bell. With text overlay stories that matter. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out.